Hey everyone, welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. Today, we're diving into the foundations of version control integration. Now, in our last explainer, we got our hands dirty with the Solana CLI, right? You were running local validators, building that awesome habit of verifying your code locally. But here's the catch. Your solo practice might sound amazing when you're just jamming in your bedroom, but how do we guarantee it still works when the whole band gets together? Without someone playing painfully out of tune? Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. We're going to take those manual, ad hoc tasks and transform them into shared, repeatable automation.
So what exactly is version control integration? Basically, it's all about creating automated reactions to your repository events. Picture it kind of like a blueprint. See this dark green gear here turning that orange branch node? That's our mechanism. When you commit, push, open a pull request, or tag your release, those actions are your triggers. They instantly kick off external actions, like running your automated tests, triggering builds, and executing your release workflows. It's literally the bridge that takes us from testing things solo to achieving rock-solid team-wide automation.
Okay, here's our conductor's score for today's explainer. We'll start by looking at the repository as an orchestra, then we'll move from local practice to rehearsal. After that, we'll step into the pull request auditions, see what happens when the conductor actually approves the merge, and finally, we'll record the final release. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The repository as an orchestra.
Imagine your repository is this massive, grand orchestra, and your version control integrations? They're the conductor's cues. If you look at this matrix we've mapped out here, each repository event matches perfectly to an action in our orchestra. A commit? Well, that's just a single musician writing down a new note. A push to a branch is the whole section rehearsing together. Then you've got the pull request, which is basically a high-stakes audition. Merging to main is the conductor actually approving the change, and finally, tagging is recording the final album. And you'll notice how our automation tasks naturally escalate through these stages, going all the way from simple pre-commit hooks to full-blown deployment pipelines.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is balancing speed and safety. You really want your fast, lightweight checks, things like linters and unit tests, running locally and running frequently. I mean, if you're writing code, you want instant feedback, right? Nobody wants to sit around for 20 minutes just to find out they missed a semicolon. But as we move closer to the main stage, we have to shift our strategy to heavy, slow checks. This means running full integration tests and spinning up validators on the pull request and merge gates. The takeaway? Keep the fast checks close to the developer to preserve your velocity and leave the heavy lifting for the automated CI gates.
Moving on to Section 2. Local practice to rehearsal.
If we follow the full chronological journey of a new feature, we're looking at 6 distinct stages of life. Right now, we're going to focus squarely on stages 1 and 2, local dev and push. This is the absolute foundation. It's where your code is actually written and initially shared with the world.
During stage 1, local development, your absolute best friends are pre-commit hooks, formatters, and unit tests. Why? Because they run in seconds. Then, in stage 2, when you finally push that feature branch up to the repository, our first layer of continuous integration kicks in. We're running quick checks, scanning our dependencies for any nasty security flaws, and maybe firing up a shallow, short-lived Solana validator test. The whole goal here is maintaining a really fast edit and test cycle while catching those glaring obvious errors before they ever even reach your human reviewers.
Next up, Section 3, pull request auditions.
Let's ground this with a concrete monorepo example. Say you have a repository with 2 Solana programs and a TypeScript SDK. The moment you open a PR, the CI stages begin to escalate. Step 1 is the fast stage. So linters and unit tests specifically on the packages that changed. Step 2 is medium, which covers dependency checks and smoke validators. But step 3, that's where the magic really happens. This is full integration. The CI launches a short-lived Solana validator and runs the canonical test harness to verify cross-program interactions and actual on-chain state flows. Basically, it's testing to make sure the entire orchestra can play together without missing a single beat.
I really want to highlight this specific quote for you. The PR is the gate where integration and review combine. You guys, this is the ultimate checkpoint. Automated PR checks, like throwing warnings for API breaking changes in your SDK or flagging security findings, these are the bouncers that prevent broken code from ever merging into your main branch. And by automating all of this, your human reviewers don't have to waste their valuable time policing code formatting. Instead, they can focus entirely on what matters, the logic, the overall design correctness, and those tricky edge cases.
All right, Section 4, conductor approves the merge. So what actually happens behind the scenes when we finally hit that merge button? Well, in a complex multi-package environment, which, let's be honest, is incredibly common in Solana development, we rely heavily on something called changed file detection. This intelligently identifies specifically which packages were altered. Think about it. If you only updated a tiny detail in the front-end app, the CI absolutely shouldn't waste time and money recompiling your entire Solana smart contract. Utilizing this is an absolute game changer for keeping your CI costs down and your wait times manageable.
Merging to main triggers your release candidate pipeline. You can think of this pipeline as our grand synchronization point. It uses that changed file detection we just talked about to determine exactly what needs building. Then, it runs comprehensive end-to-end tests in a highly realistic environment and finally prepares the exact artifacts that require publishing, whether that's your compiled programs, your updated SDK, or your front-end app.
Which brings us to Section 5, recording the final release.
To pull this off correctly, we use tags. Annotated tags using semantic versioning, like v1.2.0 for example, serve as the canonical bridge between your source code and your deployed artifacts. When a tag gets pushed, it signals the CI to run the publish and deployment jobs. But honestly, more importantly, it creates an incredibly valuable auditable chain. If something completely breaks on mainnet 3 weeks from now, you can trace the exact deployment straight back to the exact tag and see exactly which commits and tests were involved. It's a lifesaver.
Now, an absolutely vital best practice for Solana-specific deployments is keeping a distinct separation of environments. Step 1 is your staging or testnet deployment, and that is completely automated. If the pipeline is green, it ships. But step 2, the production deployment, that stops and waits. It requires a human release manager to explicitly step in and hit approve. So you're automating all the heavy lifting, but you're keeping crucial human accountability right before launching anything into the wild west of mainnet. And just to wrap up the workflow, stage 6 is post-release. Look, your automation doesn't just stop the second you deploy. It should be actively collecting metrics, it needs to be ready to execute rollbacks if failures occur, and it should automatically generate change logs directly from your merged PRs and tags. Doing this ensures your release notes are always perfectly synchronized with the actual state of your repository. This is exactly the kind of robust setup we teach in our advanced development courses at Forge College.
Okay, let's quickly summarize the 3 tactical principles you need to take away from today's explainer. First off, place your fast checks locally with the developer and put those heavy integration tests right at the PR gate. Second, use annotated tags as your auditable bridge between your source code and your deployed artifacts. And third, design your CI pipelines with change detection to keep things blazing fast and cost-effective, especially in multi-package repositories.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Your solo sounds absolutely great, but is your repository really ready for the symphony? Take a hard look at your own projects this week and see where you can start automating those manual steps. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I highly encourage you to head over to forge.college to learn more about this subject, explore some of our other Web3 related topics, and get your repository prepped for our next lesson, which will be on repository patterns. I will see you there.